All right, Alexander, let's do a follow-up as to what's going on with Assange. We have some developments, um, bad developments. Looks like the U.S. yesterday or 2 days ago, full spectrum victory across the board, the United States government.
Absolutely, that's exactly what's happened. And I have to say that for the first time since the court back in January decided that Assange should not be extradited to the US. You remember there was that long hearing last year, and the judge, to everybody's surprise, said in January that he should not be extradited, basically for health reasons. I now am starting to think that the odds are turning against him, and that it's likely that in October the High Court is going to say that the judge was wrong and is going to say that he should, or at least perhaps not say that he should be extradited, but they will throw it back to the judge, say that she's got to reconsider the decision, say that the issues about his health, which she took up, were she was wrong about them, and that makes it much more likely now that he will be extradited to the US. Can I explain very briefly what happened? The US appealed the decision in January. They appealed on two grounds. One was that the judge didn't give them a chance to give all kinds of assurances about how Assange would be treated if he was sent to the US. I don't think anybody takes that ground particularly seriously. The other ground is that the judge got it completely wrong when she decided that Assange has health issues and is a possible suicide risk. And the reason was that the judge based her evidence on the evidence of an expert, Professor Kopelman, and the High Court has now said, and that was the important part of its decision yesterday, that this evidence of Professor Kopelman, this expert, may not be fully reliable, and therefore it may be that that decision by the judge to assess that Assange has health issues, which mean that he should not be extradited to the US, that whole area should be reconsidered. Now, it's a very, very bad blow because, of course, if this whole issue is reopened, and the court does indeed go back into examining the issue of Assange's health, then as night follows day, the US will come to the court and will say all these assurances that it should have made before but didn't, about the fact that, that he's going to be treated very well if he goes to the United States. He's not going to be sent to any of these really harsh and strong security prisons. He can even be sent to Australia to be looked after there. And I'm afraid it's highly likely in that case that whatever judge decides the question is going to accept those assurances and will decide to extradite Assange to the United States. So I'm afraid yesterday's decision was a big one. It was an important one. It shows that the United States is simply not giving up where Assange is concerned. They won a big victory, and I'm afraid it's changed the whole balance and direction of the case in a way that I'm afraid makes it much more likely now that he will be extradited and sent to the United States.
Yeah, I mean, now we know why they were holding Assange without any reason to hold him. I mean, this was all planned and colluded. That's how it seems to me. It seems like the UK government and the US government, as well as the courts in the UK, they needed to find a way to hold Assange so that they could figure out how to extradite him.
I'm going to say what a lot of people are saying here, and that's that a deal has been done. That a deal was done whereby, as I said, the health issue would be brought up. It would then be set aside. It would be then put to one side, and then there would be a hearing. The court would say, well, the health issues are not so serious after all, and that the US then gives all its assurances, which are not worth the paper they're written on, and he's packed off to the United States. The British government then washes its hands of him, and of course, when the United States goes back on its assurances, as everybody expects, the British will say, well, it's not our problem anymore. He's not a British citizen. He's an Australian citizen. If he wants to complain about it, he needs to go and contact Australia and ask Australia to help him. So it looks to many people, and, you know, I've been talking to a lot of people, as if some kind of a deal has been done. And it's really, really disturbing to see developments turn out the way that they have. I would add, by the way, that the reason the court is now saying that this evidence of this witness, Professor Kopelman, is unreliable is because in an early witness statement, a very early witness statement that he lodged, he didn't disclose the fact that Assange was in a relationship with one of his lawyers, a woman called Stella Morris, and that he had 2 children by her. And subsequently, he did disclose it, and it was disclosed to the court by Stella Morris herself. And all of that was done many months before the trial that took place last year. So there's no evidence that there was any real attempt to conceal anything. And the judge who decided the case at the beginning of this year, Judge Baritza, knew all about that. She knew about the fact that this fact hadn't been included in the first witness statement. She knew all about everything that was related to it. She said that was an entirely understandable human decision, that the family wanted their privacy. And she said that she didn't think that changed the weight, the significance of Professor Kopelman's evidence at all. And now the High Court has said that might all be wrong, even though they've admitted in that hearing yesterday that what they have done is extremely unusual. In other words, second guess the trial judge's assessment of a witness. So it's very disturbing. It makes everybody extremely worried. And one person who was there at the hearing yesterday, or at least to be precise, who was attending virtually, has told me that it was striking to see how the judge who decided the case yesterday, Lord Justice Holroyd, was listening very attentively when the counsel who represented the United States was speaking, but that he looked extremely uneasy and vacant and inattentive when Assange's lawyer was speaking. So there was already a huge difference in the sort of dynamics of it. And I'm afraid many, many people have come to exactly the conclusion that you have done.
Okay, so there were reports coming out from the hearing that Assange also looked terrible. I mean, he's completely depleted. Like, just he looked really, really bad. Those were the reports coming out. I don't know. We don't have any video or any footage, so we can't say anything. But those are the reports coming out about Assange's health, that it's very, very bad. I know that we've done shows where we know that if he does get extradited to the United States, he's going to have a great team of lawyers and legal counsel and a lot of people pulling for him. But my thinking is that any requests made to the Australian government are just going to fall on deaf ears. Australia is completely compromised. The government doesn't care about their own citizen. They've made it very clear. They're going to just basically say, you know what, US, you have Assange, keep Assange, do what you want with Assange. We don't care, even though he's our citizen. Australia's completely out of the picture. The UK is, like you said, is going to wash their hands of Assange. And the United States, even though Assange is going to have a lot of great, capable people and organizations fighting for him in the United States, the way things have become right now, I fear that it's just not going to be even remotely enough to save Assange or to even get Assange a free trial, if that's even asking so much, because he didn't get a free trial in the US, in the UK. Just even getting a free trial in the US is all, we could be asking for, but I don't even think he's going to get that. Looking at the collusion between big tech, government, mainstream media, they're going to disappear Assange. They're going to censor any reporting of Assange. It's just going to be game over, and the message is going to be sent. The message is going to be sent. Here it is. We can deplatform a president. We can deplatform senators. We can disappear journalists. full dominance. We run the show. We control everything. Don't you dare cross us. Don't you dare speak poorly of us. Don't go against the ideology. The courts are compromised. Free speech is compromised. Technology is controlled and owned by us. Lockdowns, restrictions. This is where it is all leading to, and Assange is an important piece to that puzzle. Shut him down, shut him up, disappear him. And the UK, Australia, the US are all in complete collusion with this plan.
I not only agree, I would add, of course, that you missed out the other piece of the puzzle, which is all this secrets legislation which we're seeing in Britain, which is clearly designed to make the kind of reporting that Assange did completely impossible. I mean, somebody who does that in Britain today and leaks information the British government considers classified would go to prison for 14 years and would have no public interest defence. So we can already see the drift that everything is going to. Now, he would have an absolutely stellar legal team in the United States. He'd have a better legal team, a stronger legal team in the United States, I think, than the one he has here. That's not to deprecate the quality of his legal team here, but that in the US is going to be even better. But, you know, you can have the judgment of Solomon and, you know, the skill of, whomever, the greatest lawyer ever, if you're up against a system that is structured to convict you, what realistically can you do? And given that in the case of Michael Flynn, for example, which we were talking about so much and so often, it proved impossible, even after the Justice Department decided that there was no case against him and wanted the case dropped. It proved impossible to get the judge in the case to simply acquit him. I mean, what chance does someone like Assange have in a case in the United States? I would say none. And I've made comparisons in the past between the Assange case and the Dreyfus affair in France. And there are many, many similarities. But look also at the differences. The Dreyfus affair in France in the 19th century was one of the big events. People were talking about it in the cafes. It was all in the newspapers. People were arguing about it in their homes, divided families. The Assange case barely gets a mention. This huge decision was just made, and there are just a few little paragraphs, squirreled away about it in the British newspapers. None of them discussed the case in any seriousness. Amnesty International produces a sort of mealy-mouthed statement very late in the day. Judge just ignores it. The media doesn't even report it. And given that this is so, I mean, we are living in very dark times. And it's exactly as you said, they are getting darker. And this decision yesterday that we saw in the High Court, which, by the way, once upon a time, I could not even have conceived of. I mean, to be straightforward about it, this appeal, in my opinion, should never have been granted permission at all. The grounds of appeal are beyond threadbare. Anyway, the fact that this appeal is progressing as it is must fill one with deep foreboding for the future.
Yeah. All the people in the media, you mentioned the UK media wasn't reporting on this. To all the people in the UK media, you think you're in the good graces of the machine? You think that they like you now? Just wait. When they get rid of Assange, and then they turn their eyes towards you.
Absolutely.
They're going to be the first people they go after, not us. They're going to go after the useful idiots, because it's the useful idiot that they're going to be most afraid of. And the people in the media, the mainstream media, better understand that, because what they've done is absolutely abhorrent. But they're going to be the first people that the machine goes after once it disposes of this Assange problem.
It's abhorrent and it's stupid, because you're absolutely right. Because from the point of view of the people who wield the power, the deep state, if you like, whatever you want to call it. I mean, what people do on independent and alternative media, well, they can harass it, they can squeeze it to any extent that they can, but because they are able to do those things, it doesn't have the traction and the coverage that what the big traditional legacy media outlets do. They will want those totally out under their thumb. And any journalist working for those kind of media channels, those big media channels, who steps out of line in the slightest way is going to face the most severe consequences, because they will not want that to slip out of their control, and no amount of control when you're onto this sort of machine is ever enough. They will always demand more, even beyond what these people in media can give them. So you're absolutely right. You're entirely right on all counts. I have to say, it is very disturbing, but also, I suppose, interesting to see how this thing is playing out. But I mean, it's beyond distressing also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, not me. Yuri Bezimov spelled this all out long time ago.
Well, to be perfectly straightforward about it, it's what the KGB was up to in Russia, in the Soviet Union in his days. I mean, I think we're starting to see something going beyond that now. I mean, you literally have to go back to the 30s, to the great trials that took place there, to start seeing something as dark as what we're seeing emerge today.
All right, we'll leave it there.
Yeah.
Take care.